So in this video I want to show you how to make some Pommes Dauphine or Pommes Dauphinoise. And tell a bit about the history as well. The first thing you need to have is potatoes, cream, cheese, and it's a pretty easy dish as you will see, but you have to consider a few steps. First, cutting the potatoes. You need to have the right potatoes. The potatoes you need for Pommes Dauphinoise should be potatoes that are so-called good potatoes for mashing. Then you slice them really thin, like you see them here in the video. And the main difference between Pommes Dauphinoise and the traditional potato gratin is that in a potato gratin in French cooking, they usually boil the potatoes, so they cook the starch out. With Pommes Dauphinoise, you leave the starch in, so you cook the potatoes straight away. It makes it much firmer, it makes it much nicer, obviously because you have a bit more starch in there. So first, let's chop some garlic. Now there are two ways to go about that. If I chop my garlic and my thyme, or rosemary if you want to do that, although it's not very French, you can infuse it into the cream, and then you season the cream, as I'll show you in a minute. And then you can strain it off, and then it's really refined because you don't have any garlic chunks in it or sort of thyme chopped up herbs, which can sort of discolor it a little bit. So if you want to make it really elegant, do what I do here now. You add your garlic to the cream, and so do your herbs. In my case, I use some thyme. And then I infuse that, and later on I will strain it off. So traditionally, Pommes Dauphinoise are made with cream and milk, because in French cooking they use double cream. Now, you most likely don't get really good double cream. Often you find that the double cream is too fat. So in that case, you need to use single cream or pouring cream like I use here. Then salt and pepper, lots of salt, lots of pepper, because you need to think about it. You need to season. When you season it, you need to look at the potatoes and not at the cream. So look at the pile of potatoes you have here, and then season it accordingly to those potatoes and not how much you have in the cream. So you're always going to over season it. You're always going to put too much pepper in it and too much salt in it. But with my method here, I will strain it off, or I could leave it in as well. It's up to you. But if I strain it off, I'm going to have it obviously much cleaner. And so you mix that nicely together, bring it to the boil, infuse it all into those Dauphinoise. So Gratin Dauphinoise is sort of a very famous French potato dish, although gratin potatoes is something differently. It's usually cooked in, as I said, milk and cream, and it uses the gratin technique. And in that case, that dish comes from the Dauphinoise region, which is in the southeastern end of France. And there's so many variants to that dish. So what I do now, I start doing it. I infused my cream, and I will now obviously start layering. Now the first mention of that dish was in 1788, and it was served at the dinner given by Charles Henri, the Duke of Clermont and Tonnery, and the Lieutenant General of the Dauphine, for his officials of the town of Gap, which is now in the department of Haute-Alpes. So what I do first, I grease it with a bit of butter, so just to make sure that it doesn't stick. Then one thin layer of cream. Now when you're on the bottom, just go very easy with the cream, but the art is to have a layer of potatoes, cream, potatoes, cream, potatoes, cream, and the thinner those potatoes are, as more elegant and as more those potatoes will absorb the cream. And in that case as well, you need to have the right potato. So what's a right potato? It's a starchy potato, it's a floury potato, something that you would use for mashing. Like in my video today, I use starch cream. So what we see me doing here is basically brushing each layer of potato and keep going with that. So it's a bit of a work, but you need to think that the potatoes will absorb all the cream in, and then in the end you have this absolute perfect potato cake, which the cream will literally disappear. It's absolutely brilliant because you can chill it down, and it lasts in the fridge easily for 7-8 days. And all you can do then, you can cut out slices, switch the oven on at 180 degrees, and then put it into the oven and bake it up, or 220 degrees, fan force if you want it really crispy. You can also slice it up and pan fry it, and it comes out like the most amazing, crispy, creamy potato. So try that. When I make Pommes Dauphinoise at home, I always cook plenty extra because I heat it up another few times over the next few days. So you see me doing here now layer and layer and layer. And as I said before, Gratin Dauphinoise is made with sliced raw potatoes, milk, and sometimes they add cheese. But you know, there's usually chefs saying that you should not put cream on it and cheese on the top, because then it becomes a dish that is called basically a gratin Savoy, which means it comes from the Savoy region because they put Comté or Gruyere cheese on it, just what I like to here. So any leftover trimmings, like you see me doing in the video, just put it in, push it down. But the cheese thing is sort of a bit challenged because even chefs like Auguste Escoffier and Austine, of course, Robert Carrier and Constance Brie all sort of call for cheese on top of it, and some of them even add eggs to it. So what I make now is little cartouche. A cartouche is something that you cover the top of the gratin with, because you don't want the surface exposed to the heat, because what you then have is basically that the cheese will brown up too quickly, but you want the cheese to melt it into the basically potatoes. And if you do that, then you like for the last 10 or 15 minutes you take the paper off and it will just caramelizes up absolutely amazing. And the cheese will not be in your way, it will be not hard or crunchy, which you want for other dishes but not for Pommes Dauphinoise. Now, a traditional potato gratin, as I said to you before, it's often where potatoes get boiled, or often just baked potatoes get scooped out and then you add some bit of cream on it, cheese on it, and you bake that. So that in France is a potato gratin, but what we make here is a Pommes Dauphine or Pommes Dauphinoise, very famous for the Dauphinoise region. So you can see now I cooked that at 180 degrees fan force for approximately an hour and a half. So how do I know if it's ready or not? I basically just take a knife, I poke the knife in, and if you see it has the same resistance all the way through, in that case no resistance, then you know your potatoes are cooked. But if you poke the knife in and as you go to the center it gets harder and harder and harder, then you know it's undercooked. So here we go, then pull off the paper, and as you can see now, the cheese hasn't formed the crust. We're gonna have that after 10 or 15 minutes, having it in the oven at that heat, and that's your potato gratin. So I hope you liked my video, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel. Looking forward to seeing one of my other videos, and just let's have a look at it, how that looks now. It looks absolutely amazing. And as I said, before you cut it, let it stand for half an hour. In the beginning you might find there's quite a bit of butter assembling on the top, which is the fat that clarified out, and the Dauphinoise potatoes might be falling a bit apart like you see it doing here. I cut it out straight away. I haven't been as patient as I should be, and that's your potato Dauphinoise.